the Lieutenant Dotson is not here, and he's supposed to talk about civic engagement. So I'm sort of going to do double duty. I'll do a little introduction to CAC, but then I'll also pick up the civic engagement piece since we're down a speaker. So CAC is a 7-member body, and it's entirely appointed by various members of the Kansas legislature. By statute, it's 7 people. By statute, no one party can have more than 4 members. So we are politically balanced, as well as being balanced around the state. Every United States congressional district has to have representation. So right now we're at 4 people. We're down some, although we just had one new person appointed out of the Kansas City area just like Friday. Quite frankly, that finally came through. So that's just the briefest thing about CAC. We are on paper, we are a liaison between the community and the governor's office. So events like this are exactly what CAC should be doing. Getting out into the community. We will be talking, there's questions on the back of your agenda, gathering information, and what our goal is to use this information to inform next year's Black Legislative Day. Are you guys familiar with Black Legislative Day? Were you at Black Legislative Day most recently? We've been to some Black Legislative Days. As those grow, we're starting to change how we approach them. And so hopefully, my goal is that these town hall meetings will get some information, what's important to the community, one that will impact what Black Legislative Day will cover. And also, if we are to be advisory to the governor, then we can say, we had a town hall meeting in Junction City, and these are the things that came out of what we heard. This is what's important to the Black community in Junction City. So that's your brief CAC overview. Civic engagement. Civic engagement. I'm glad. We're going to count it just serendipitous that the person who was supposed to talk about civic engagement isn't here, because my passion, my bread and butter is always voting. And if there's a couple things that I've learned in my time at this job is that Black people, we don't vote in large numbers, and we are giving away our power. That's just it. We're giving away our power. So I am going to go through this. She's like, you've got 37 slides, but I'm going to go fast because this is just an overview. There are 2 elections coming up. There's a primary election in August and then the general election in November, okay? We're going to talk a little bit about the history of voting, what's on the ballot, and then if you have questions, we'll get to it. Now, this is really tiny print, so I'm not going to make you read it. The upshot of all of this is, y'all, it has not always been a given that most of us in this room had the ability to vote. Women didn't get the vote until, what was that? The Black men got the vote, the 15th Amendment. White women got the vote in 19th Amendment. It took the Voting Rights Act. In fact, I share an office with the Native American Commission. And I was like, so when did Native Americans didn't have the right to vote until 1924? It has not been a given that we can vote in this country. And it hurts my heart personally that I know the voter turnout rate for Gary County. Every time I talk to y'all, I look it up. And every time I give numbers, there's an audible gasp in the room. Okay, don't make me look y'all up. Huh? Well, you know, that's my other speech. But I remember it was like the most recent in 2025, the voter turnout in Gary County was like 11%, which means in a room like this, 2 of you voted. All right, we'll move on. What's on the ballot? Here's a hint. It's a lot. I'm going to go on this real quick. There are national level races, okay? The United States Senate is one of those races. The United States Senate, that's the one that meets in Washington, D.C. There's 100 people. They are not all up for election at the same time. It's always every 2 years, a third of it is up. The person who's currently in the United States Senate seat who is up for election is a man by the name of Roger Marshall. I'm not going to say anything about Roger Marshall. That's not why I'm here. He is the incumbent. There is a large primary for people who are running for the United States Senate. He does have one Republican challenger, and then there is a long list of Democratic challengers. One of those people is actually in the room. Eric Murray, raise your hand, wave. I'm not going to go through all this list because I can make this available because you can Google all these people and decide who you want to support. But this is to say that there is a primary. Oftentimes, people who are on the Democratic side don't think about voting in the primary because sometimes there's not a primary. There will be things to vote on on both sides of, like, even Roger Marshall has a primary challenger. The United States House of Representatives, again, we're talking about Washington, D.C. Kansas is divided into 4 congressional districts. Everyone serves 2-year terms. That means every 2 years, the entire House of Representatives is up for a re-election. District 1, Tracy Mann's the incumbent. District 2, where we are now, Derek Schmidt's the incumbent. District 3, Sharice Davids is the incumbent. District 4, Ron Estes is the incumbent. Again, this is tiny. There's a primary. There are a lot of people running against everybody. There's Democrats and Republicans running for every seat. Here where we are in District 2, Derek Schmidt's the Republican incumbent. There's a man by the name of Don Coover who's running, and a Braden Kerwick. I don't know who these people are, but I've done some research to find out who's on the ballot. There is a lot of state level races. The governor is up, okay? The governor serves a 4-year term. Laura Kelly is the incumbent. She's term limited, so she cannot run again. So it's considered an open seat. There are a lot of people running for Kansas governor. There are at least 3 Democrats and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Republicans. And there's a woman running as an independent. So I'm giving you this information rapid fire, just so you know that please start to think about who you want to vote for, because you have a choice. You have like a list of people literally to start picking from. The Kansas Secretary of State is up. The Kansas Secretary of State is the person who's responsible for controlling the elections in the state of Kansas. So do you remember a couple of years ago, there was an election on the presidential level, and the person who won called up one state Secretary of State and said, hey, can you find me 11,000 votes? And that person said, no, I'm not going to find you 11,000 votes because I ran a clean election. So the person who sits in the Secretary of State, if that person gets a call and says, hey, can you find me 11,000 votes, you better make sure you got a person who's ethical sitting in that seat. So this is a race that it's not a sexy race. It doesn't get a lot of airplay, but it's a very important race. Scott Schwab is the current Secretary of State. He's vacating that because he's running for governor. So he's not running for Secretary of State. Scott Schwab is a Republican. I've watched him over the last couple of years. Honestly, Kansas runs good elections. He has done a good job. But there are people who are running. Jennifer Day and Samuel Lane are Democratic challengers, and there's 2 Republicans who are also running for this seat. Again, I'm not here to make commentary about what I think about these people, but just please do research, because it's very important that whoever winds up being the Kansas Secretary of State is the person who's going to be in charge of our elections. So they're the ones who are going to make the decisions about, well, I'll get to it. There have been changes in how voting is happening, all right? And that's very important for us to know about. Kansas Attorney General. This is the person who is like the lead attorney for the state of Kansas. Currently, it's Chris Kobach, who's the Republican incumbent, and there's one Democratic challenger whose name is Chris Mann. So this is the person that if they decide the legality of what kind of, are we going to agree with national mandates about the presence of federal forces in our state, this is the person who's going to have a very big say on that. Potentially they might fight with the governor, potentially they might not. But Chris Kobach is the incumbent and Chris Mann is the challenger. Kansas State Treasurer, this is the person who sort of runs the books right now. There's no, as near as I can tell, there's no one running against Steve Johnson. He's the incumbent, so he's right now running unopposed. I should say the filing date's not till June, so someone else may get in the race, but right now he's running unopposed. All right, the insurance commissioner. Now this is talk about not a sexy race, but this person sort of sets insurance rates. And there's a woman right now, Vicki Schmidt is the insurance commissioner. She's vacating because she is also running for governor. Like I said, it's a crowded race. So there's a man by the name of Dan Hawkins. He's the current Republican House Majority Leader, is running against the current Senate Minority Leader, Dinah Sykes. This race, no, I can't say that. I'm trying to be nonpartisan. Please do your homework. Please do your homework. Kansas House of Representatives, much like the United States House of Representatives, this is the Kansas House of Representatives in Topeka. The entire body is up every 2 years, 125 people. District size is determined by population. So whereas in the Kansas City Metro, the House districts may be rather small, once you start getting out into Western Kansas, the districts become larger land-wise because they're all roughly the same population, if that makes sense. So the entire body is up for election. What I will say, ooh, that's tiny. Here's what, you know what? I didn't need that slide. But what I will say about the House election is that the filing deadline, again, is not until June 1st. And so it's very difficult for me to know who's running in this area. So you'll have to sort of figure out, and the lines, the map has been horribly gerrymandered. The lines are crazy. So I don't know where you guys all live in order to tell you who's running and who to look up. So you'll have to just sort of do some homework there. Kansas State Board of Education. So now the Kansas State Board of Education, there's 10 people in the Kansas State Board of Education, and they always are up half at a time. And this year it's all the odd seat people who are up. These are the people who set academic standards. They do not control curriculum. That is a local school board conversation curriculum that's taught. And that's a fight that's been going on with the legislature, because the legislature has been trying to pressure the Kansas State School Board to make decisions about what goes on in the schools. And the Kansas State School Board is like, that's not our line. Go to your local school board. So there's a lot going on. Currently, like I said, the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 position are up. And there are people who are filed. So, right, District 7 doesn't have anyone right now, but that doesn't mean that that's set. This is an ongoing process. Okay, here we go. Retention of judges. You ever get to the bottom of a ballot and you're like, I don't know who these people are. Yeah. This is tiny, and I had to do some digging. District judges are different than magistrate judges, and they're both on the ballot. District judges are appointed. It's my understanding that magistrates might not actually be lawyers, but like sometimes in rural counties, there may not be enough lawyers. And so there are people who know enough to do this. And so, but there are district judges and magistrate judges on the ballot. Yes, so again, you'll have to look up where the lines are. Here we go. There are 2 proposed changes to the Kansas Constitution, and this is a big deal. There are 2 in 2022, they started to do this thing where there was changes to the Kansas Constitution. And I interviewed a constitutional expert from Wichita State University in 2022. And he said that in the entire time that he had been studying the Kansas Constitution, there had been only 3 proposed changes to the Kansas Constitution ever, like since Kansas. And then now, without fail, like almost every ballot, there are several proposed changes to the Kansas Constitution. To me, the way that, unlike Missouri, where there are ballot initiatives where if people get enough people to say, let's put something on the ballot, that's not what happens in Kansas. For a question to come to the ballot in Kansas, 2/3 of the legislature has to agree to put it on the ballot. So my question is, why does this particular group of legislators feel the need to change the Constitution as much as possible? I have thoughts. I'll tell them to you when I'm not on the clock. In the primary election, here's something that I love this graphic because everyone can vote on the questions at the end. Everyone. The blue is a Democrat. If you're a registered Democrat, you walk in, you say, I'm a Democrat, they'll give you a Democrat ballot and it will have the questions at the end. If you're a Republican, you get a Republican ballot. It will have the same questions at the end. If you're a Libertarian, you walk in and they will give you a ballot that will have, especially if a Libertarian is like, well, I'm not voting in the Democratic primary or the Republican primary, Libertarians can still vote in the primary with this question. A person who is unaffiliated, right? If there's a lot of people who are unaffiliated who might be thinking, well, I'm not a Democrat, I can't vote in that, I can't vote. Unaffiliated people can vote. You walk in, you say, I'm unaffiliated. I think I have to check this. You can affiliate on the day and they'll give you a Democratic ballot, or they'll give you an unaffiliated ballot, or they'll give you a Republican ballot. So if you take away nothing, is that everyone in this room can vote on the primary ballot. Sometimes there's deep confusion about that. The last day to register to vote is July 14th. If you do want to change your affiliation, however, the last day to do that is June 1st. Right? So if you're like, I'm unaffiliated, but I'm really feeling that like the libertarian is my way, then change your affiliation. On that, my personal thing that I think I can say is that if you find that your personal politics actually aligns with something, register as that something. Okay. Here's what's on the primary. That's tiny, so I'm gonna give you an overview. Here's what's on the primary. Please, it's how do Supreme Court judges, Kansas Supreme Court judges, not the United States Supreme Court judges, but how do Kansas Supreme Court judges arrive at the bench? Currently, our system is that there is a Supreme Court nominating commission made up of 9 people. Half plus one of those people are appointed attorneys or judges or people who are in the legal field. Half minus one of those people are lay people. They're not legal people, okay? Those 9 people, if there's a vacancy on the Supreme Court, those 9 people they take applications. Quite frankly, right now there's a vacancy on the Supreme Court and there are 7 people who are sort of in the hopper. Those 9 people, they talk about it, they do these things, they consider temperament, they consider strength of a person's legal background, they consider a lot of things. They submit, I believe, 3 names to the governor, and then the governor appoints the Supreme Court judges right now. That's the system we have. It's called the merit system, because people have to sort of go through several checks and balances among even their peers before they get to the Supreme Court, the Kansas Supreme Court, okay? That's called the merit system, that people are there by their merit. Now, Kansas has the merit system. What this is proposing to do is to change that. And what it's changing it to is to election. So the Kansas legislature supermajority has decided to put this question on the ballot to say that they want to change how Kansas Supreme Court judges come to the bench. The Kansas Republican supermajority has said that they do not want to use the merit system. They want to take Supreme Court judges to a statewide vote, much like voting for the governor. So that's what the amendment says. If you vote, because you'll start seeing the signs, vote yes, vote no. But you're like, what does it mean? If you vote no, that just means leave it alone, merit system. Don't change it. Voting yes is yes, yes, I want to change it. Let's go to an open vote. I have thoughts on that. I'll share them with you afterward. But I want you to consider for a second what a statewide election looks like in Kansas. Who tends to win statewide elections in Kansas? How do statewide elections in Kansas tend to go? Okay. On the general ballot, there's going to be another constitutional amendment that is going to address citizenship and the ability to vote. Specifically to say that in the Kansas Constitution that a person has to be a United States citizen in order to vote. Fun fact, a person already has to be a United States citizen in order to vote. I'm not sure what this constitutional amendment is doing, except, what's the phrase? Virtue signaling or rage baiting, one of the two. Please look up your ballot, because there may be other elections on the ballot. County commissioners may be on the ballot. There may be special elections in your area that might be on the ballot. So just please, you have to look up your ballot, and you can do that at KS Votes or the Kansas Secretary of State's page through a thing called Voter View. The primary election timeline, again, if you need to register to vote, and if a person will be 18 by election day, they can register to vote, right? So the deadline will be July 14th. So if you've got a person who is, like, it's July 14th is approaching, and they're going to turn 18, like, between July 14th and the election day, that person can register because they'll be 18 on election day. If that makes sense. Advanced voting, and there's mail-in ballot voting. I will get to mail-in ballots in a second. All I can tell you, if you are doing a mail-in ballot, please don't put it in the mail. Election day is August 4th for the primary, and this is key. If you're in line at 7 o'clock, please stay in line. I don't anticipate there's going to be much of a rush at the primary, but please just know that if you're in line, stay in line. And is there advanced early in-person voting in Geary County? Please take advantage of that. Similarly, with the general election timeline, there's similar spacing out when you have to register. Again, if you know when someone's going to be 18 by election day, but they can still register. Same thing, early voting. Election day, if you're in line, please stay in line. This is new. For the general election, all ballots have to be in the election offices by 7 o'clock. This is new, okay? Before, there was a 3-day grace period, a mail processing period, which actually passed all but unanimously several years ago, especially to help out the rural counties, because like none of our mail is processed here. If you mail something to your next door neighbor, it goes to Nebraska before it gets to your next door neighbor. Understanding that there was oftentimes a delay in the mail, they instituted a 3-day mail processing period. So as long as something was postmarked by election day, and if it arrived, it could be counted, no more. If they don't have a ballot in hand at 7 p.m., they're not going to count it. So if you are a person who uses a mail-in ballot or an advanced ballot, do not put it in the mail. 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 You should walk it in. Are there external drop boxes in Geary County? Use an external drop box. Take it into your election office. Do not put it in the mail, because if that gets lost in the mail, and we have all had something get lost in the mail, it won't be counted. That's new. It was passed by the it was passed by the entire legislature. That was something that was put forth. Maybe I can't say this. This was really pushed through by a man whose name is Pat Proctor, Representative Pat Proctor, who decided that he wanted election day to be election day. That's what he would say. Election day is election day. But that's a fallacy, because election day has never been election day, because they always have provisional ballots. They always do auditing. They always do the canvass, whatever the count that's, that's why it's unofficial election results on election night, because the numbers have always changed. So, yeah, so if you're like the person who shoved that through, was Pat Proctor. I leave that for you to consider. So, if you have a mail ballot, what should you do? You should not walk it in. If you have advanced early in-person voting, I would encourage you to do that for a couple of reasons. One, just go some random Wednesday at 2 in the afternoon. There's not going to be a line. That also alleviates the pressure on our poll workers, who are our friends and neighbors who are taking their time to volunteer to help out with elections. So on election day, it's not as crowded. And so I always encourage people to vote early in person. Lastly, there's some resources. Again, I know this is tiny, but like Vote 411, the Kansas Secretary of State's page is extremely helpful in terms of finding out information. They have an elections thing, and it will drop down, and it can give you a candidate list, and you can know all the people who have filed. And then they also have voter view, where you can look up your actual ballot. So the Kansas Secretary of State page is very helpful. Also, your county election offices will be very helpful for this. So whether you're in Geary or Riley or wherever you are. And then, yes. Y'all, elections have consequences. Every single election has consequences. Every single issue, every single race has consequences. And every election is determined by the people who show up to vote. And people who look like me have not a good history of showing up to vote. For a lot of reasons, I understand that. But when we don't vote, we are just giving away our power. Okay, that's it for me. So I have information, I have cards. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And so civic engagement, voting is super low hanging fruit, right? Just if you can vote, that's a big thing. All right, thank you very much.
So our lesson today is what? What do we do with our ballots? Okay, very good. That reminded me when I took care of my mother for many years, she got advanced ballot. And so I would take that to the nursing home. I would help my mother complete that. And then I would drop that in the mailbox or the ballot box in front of our Gary County Treasurer's office. And I did that many, many, many years. And so now, when I am tasked to help any elderly with it, I won't drop it. I'll actually walk it in and deliver it. So if you're one that helps elderly complete that, drive them around or drive them there to get it done, please make sure we don't drop it in the mailbox. So let me have a word. Lieutenant General Michael Dodson, I met him about 2 weeks ago at the Manhattan Professional Development Day. A couple of members of Black entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills and I attended that day. He did a workshop on how to communicate with your elected officials. It was fabulous. It was nonpartisan. And he has been in the political business for about 37 years and retired. I was excited about having him come to speak today. He's in Manhattan, and he was delighted to come. He broke a tooth 2 days ago and had to have surgery. So he emailed me this morning and said, oh, my stitches are very tight. I'm not going to be able to really talk, but I want to wish you well, and please invite me. And so I want to just send well wishes to General Michael Dodson in his willingness to come and talk with us. Okay, we are going to shift now and prepare to our open community listening session. Let me get there. What we want to do is, if you have your agenda, if you don't have one, there's some at the registration table. On the back, and Jessica, we're ready. On the back of this are 10 questions. And you have several ways that you can answer those questions. We have this beautiful red mic. We have this beautiful red microphone if you want to speak into the microphone. We have the scanned QR codes on your tables as centerpieces. And it's also on the program. So you can use your voice. And we have a professional note taker here, like certified professional note taker here today. Thank you, Andrea, so much. You can scan the QR code 2 ways on your program or on the acrylic centerpiece on your table. You can write them down and actually turn this into me. You don't have to put your name on it. And what we want to do is to take all of the feedback from today, the next 30 or 40 minutes, and jot that down. Angela in our chair is also prepping for her town hall in Wichita. So we're all going to be collecting our information, collecting the feedback from our community members, and putting that all together. We want to see patterns. We want to see what people are saying. We want to understand what Black Kansans feel about their community and about the state of Kansas around a variety of issues. Our expectations are, for one, we're in a church, and I purposely planned to have this in a church. We ask that everyone speak with respect, listen with intention, and keep your comments concise, because we want to have multiple voices heard today. We're saying you have 1 minute, but we'll just see how that goes. We're really on schedule with our time together today. And we really want it to be a constructive, solution-oriented time. So Stacy is going to serve as our moderator, and I'm going to flow into the room so that I can bring the mic, I can talk with you, I can hear your feedback. And so I'm just looking forward for us to spend the next few minutes Are you providing really your authentic truth and you know, your lived experience about Junction City and wherever else you're from here today in the district? Congressional District 2 is huge. 25 counties I have, plus 3 counties, Jackson, Douglas, and part of Wyandotte, Eric. So hopefully I'll be out there to see you too. And again, I know we called out Eric, he's here, and I'm hoping that you definitely gonna work the room and talk to the people. And then I also want to honor our commissioners, our Gary County Commissioners, Kathy Tremont is here with us today. Our mayor, Terry Butler, is here with us today, and Sam, our vice mayor. So I want to call them out in the room as well. Okay, I'm gonna get the other mic.
So on the back, like I said, we referenced those first couple of questions. The first couple of questions are just demographic information. So I'll start with number 4. And so the question states, what challenges or barriers make it difficult for you or people you know to register to vote or stay engaged in the civic process? So you can, fill it out online, you can check the box, or if there's anything that you would like to say. And so I'll give you a chance to think that through. Again, what we're doing is using this information to inform what Black Legislative Day looks like, and we're using this information to put together information to tell the governor, right? That what we learn out in the community is things we can take back to the governor. So what challenges do we see? Is there limited access to polling locations, transportation, or flexible hours? Perhaps is it work, family, or life circumstances that make it difficult for you to find time? Do you feel that voting does not change outcomes? Maybe there's lack of clear information about how or where to participate, or if there's anything else. So now I'm going to be quiet. Would anyone care to share their thoughts on the situation?
Yes, Deacon, let me bring you the mic. Thank you.
From my point of view, it's just my point of view. Everybody got an opinion, but for me, sometimes I feel like when people vote or don't vote, they feel like as though nothing changes. It's because they see the same thing go over and over and over again, and when they put their voice in, they assume that something's going to change, but it doesn't change. They see it go on for years and years. So it's disheartening.
Yeah.
It's very disheartening. So when you come to ask them to vote, and then they'll just look at you like, okay, I voted before. Who's going to change? Who's going to be the one to say, I'm going against the system? The system is not working for everyone. So who's going to be the one to go against the system to make the change? So it's very disheartening for some people to want to get up the courage to even voice their opinion or what have you. So that's just my perspective on it right now. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So that definitely falls under the feeling that voting,
Okay, I see Steve and then Terrell.
feeling that voting and civic engagement does not change.
My name is Steve Hammond, lifelong resident of and I'm kind of picking back. Junction City, I'm not making an excuse, it's kind of considered a transit community because it's military. And I'm just wondering why you don't have turf. That's all it is.
Terrell is our NAACP president for Manhattan.
Good afternoon. So, I concur with that sentiment and saying that Manhattan is also one of those transit communities where a lot of folks are military and come in and out. But my question is regarding voter registration and the language that we as organizing organizations use to ensure people are registered to vote and get out to the polls. Is there any specific language that we should use or refrain from using so that we make sure everybody who is eligible to be registered and can vote does?
All right, that's a deep question. So I mean, I have thoughts, but I'm supposed to be the moderator.
I think we'll hold that,
Okay.
because we want to get through our questions,
You got
and
it.
we'll come back to that. So, and I know Andrea, capturing that for us.
Hi, my name's Alyssa. I'm the oldest daughter of and campaign manager for Eric Murphy, U.S. Senate. And I think when it comes to barriers to voting, I really think we need to be meeting the younger generation. I'm a college senior, but even like younger than me, the high schoolers where they're at. Right now, our Wyandotte County NAACP is doing voter registration at all of the high schools in the KCK area. And it's really disheartening to me, like how many of these kids really don't know. We're not being proactive. I go up to their tables, at least high schoolers, 17, 18, and I'm like, do you want to register to vote? And they're like, what am I voting for? And so that just lets me know that, our civic education is not either doing it right or it's not doing it in a way that's inclusive to them or inspiring to them. So that's really disheartening because once I sit down and talk them through it, they're like, oh yeah, of course I should register to vote. But if we're not being proactive in getting them at these young ages, but by the time they're 25, 30, 40, why would they step up and register to vote then when they never have? So I think being proactive.
Thank you for that. That's very important. I want to say, and I see you, you're next, sir. Mr. Young. I had to help my son Elijah vote from 18 years old. Like we made a thing of it. Like we went down, registered, he learned, we went to the website, learned he was, up for election and voting. And then I helped like 3 or 4 of his friends. And he does talk to us a lot about this, about peer organizing. And I know Wendell, if she was here, and Wendell has talked about peer organizing. I just got the boys together, African American young men, 18 years old, and explained to them the importance of voting. But I also walked them through it. And because 3 of Elijah's friends came and said, okay, just tell me who to vote for. No, I don't want to tell you who to vote for. But that's what when I realized I really need to spend some more time with them. We need to go look up the folks. We need to read about them and all the things. So I'm saying that to say that sometimes when we're helping the young people, like Alyssa said, we may have to do a little bit of hand holding and helping them understand in the beginning what it is, what's required. And then of course I share with them why we must vote. So just my own experience with helping young people register and then vote. Mr. Bernhardt.
Tom Bernhardt, retired history and government teacher. I'm not as nice as you are, I would say stuff. And current member of the school board. The legislature just passed a bill and over the governor's veto that would punish school districts if students become civically engaged enough to protest something, to walk out and protest. $100,000 fine on the school district if students do that. This is the same legislature that will not fully fund education and yet has done this. Some students don't need to be helped to be engaged. They were engaged when they went out and protested. They were organized, they did it peacefully. And I applauded them. I was across the street going, yeah, go. Probably shouldn't have been, but I was. Our legislature, that we elect, has got to commit to believing in civic engagement. We're supposed to teach it. It's one of what they call the Rose Standards of school finance bill. We're supposed to teach civic engagement. Those students were civically engaged, and if they do it again, the school district will be punished. There's something wrong with that.
I will probably take maybe 2 more. I'm keeping track of how much time we're spending on each question, so maybe 2 more responses. This is good, and thank you for these answers. Yes.
I was gonna say, like, late Dan Gilbert, Hannah was involved with the NAACP, and I'm thinking about the late Ruby Skims, the president here, and she's a member of this church. And what I was gonna say is I can remember, and I was part of living in Wichita, they would have a legislator day that they would take the students to the state capitol. And they, I don't know, Crystal, you can remember that? I don't know how it is, but the day we live in, but that they used to do that. Just like,
Good afternoon, ma'am. Oh,
so,
Yeah, you go ahead and use the microphone.
so,
for me, I was listening to the madam over there, what she was saying about walking up to them. I mean, we're dealing with the Gen X era right now. So you gotta go on the Gen X era by communication. Pretty much, they're doing all the TikToks and the YouTubes. So the smartest thing to do is go on that level to get them to do that. That's what we got to do right now. We're pretty much still doing the old school stuff. And you got kids, you try to walk up to a kid, they think you're trying to fight them. You got to just pretty much hit them with the YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and you'll get them to vote. That's the smartest thing to do, if you agree. Thank you.
I mean, there is something to be said about meeting people where they are. Gen Z, I'm Gen X. Gen X are old. We're all old people. Thank you for mentioning, because no one ever says Gen X, so I feel seen. But honestly, again, I know the numbers. Yeah, it'd be great if young people voted. Y'all, it'd be great if everybody in this room voted. All right, let's look at number 5.
Yes.
What would make, and thank you for those answers, what would make civic participation feel more accessible and relevant in your community? So that may be the question of people not knowing, right, or not feeling like, oh, I don't know what to do. So is it easier, the question answers potentially are easier access to registration, polling location, information, more diverse and representative candidates and leaders, civic events and conversations held in spaces the community already trusts. I mean, I think this speaks to that. Maybe clearer connections between civic decisions and everyday life. Those are some good choices there. So what do you think would make civic participation feel more accessible, or other things?
Okay, we have Alicia and Brittany in the back.
No, but if you have the microphone, I can hear you. That's good.
Okay, I'm looking at clear connection between civic decisions and everyday life. Yeah. A lot of people, they don't understand the need to vote because they don't see the correlation between their life, their concerns, and voting. If you're not a person that understands the legal jargon and things like that, so these bills and things are written in, then you're not going to understand how that impacts your life. So you're trying to do something, they say, no, you can't do that anymore because something was passed that you didn't understand why it was important. You saw the signs and everything, but you didn't feel it affected you or understood how it would affect you. So I think if we can make that process a little bit more easier for especially young people to understand how this affects you, what this means, like you just did earlier with some of those bills I think they're going through, I think that would help a lot.
That's good, Alicia. Thank you.
Okay, so what do you think that might look like?
Yeah. Alicia, what do you think that might look like? What do you think would help that? Because you're right. And like, I learned stuff just today, and I'm a commissioner, but I'm just saying from Stacy's thing today, I learned a lot. And I wrote testimony for my first time, so really understanding that process. So what do you think might help us help the community?
Oh, let me think. This K-State drains my brain. I always not have anything left to be innovative.
Well, you can, if you think about it, can come back to it.
Yeah, I think, do we have a Democratic group or independent group for young people? Like they do Turning Point USA, they're always on campus.
So the Manhattan branch has collaborated, it made a decision to collaborate with the Flint Hills Democratic Socialist Association. Granted, we cannot endorse candidates or political parties, but we certainly can work with them to encourage registration and getting out to vote.
And similarly with CAC, like for example, CAC, we're bipartisan by design, and we are not a C3 and we are not a C4. We live in the land of education, which is why, My whole presentation was, this is what's on the ballot, just to get information. Yes.
I just have kind of a question, I guess. Okay, because if somebody, for example, we have this young man that's running, right? So he's here. So let's just say I go to the ballot and he's the only person that I remember or know of. I'm gonna vote for him. So if more people would get out and attend things that people are asked, they're going to recognize you. Is that considered, endorsement because they went to this event or whatever? I don't think so, right? Yeah, we need more people to show their faces.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, I was saying, Eric, running a statewide race is no small feat to get out to meet people. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that shout out. Your rendition was beautiful earlier, by the way. Thank you all for hosting this. So you guys have been generous in acknowledging me being here, and I think we're having these important discussions. But I also want to take a minute. All politics are local, right? And to your point, I'm running a federal race to talk about things that are happening in Washington, D.C., and I think we're all seeing and feeling the effects of that. But if we're going to engage, the question was, how are we going to engage folks in community? And I think you talked about part of it is how do we make that clearer connection? But the young lady that just stood up right there at that table is also part of it. We need folks who look like us, who are in our communities, who are in these rooms to run for office. And so I want to give a shout out to Mona Smith, who's running for House District 33, right, in Wyandotte County. And I think this is how we do it. We've got to get it. I think Obama said it best. He said, when I was thinking about running for president, you think that the people in these rooms are so much more magical than you and they're special and they know all this stuff. And he's like, then I got in the rooms and realized, like, wait a second, they're just us, right? And so I think a lot of times we psych ourselves out of the political process. So all politics are local, getting engaged at that local level, supporting candidates in these rooms that look like us, and then taking that work to the state level and the federal level, I think is how it's all going to work. So thank you all for having me. And I want to thank Mona, and I want to encourage all of us to get other young folks in our communities to run for these seats. So thank you.
I know Benita had her hand up.
Miss Bonita. Oh, I'm sorry. Brittany, I'm sorry.
Yes,
And
no
then Miss
worries.
Bonita.
I just real short and sweet here. I am a realtor and I also do taxes. I've been doing taxes here in Fort Riley and Junction City for 13 years. And now I run Bridgeville State Services and I do all of that by myself. Taxes and real estate is pretty boring and the young kids don't like boring.
Yeah.
You gotta spice it up. So that's the problem here. They're not gonna come in here and see, you don't see no young kids in here sitting down listening to anything y'all saying. I know you're trying, but on May 31st, I will be hosting an event and NAACP is gonna be a part so that these young children can come have.
Hello?
Okay, so that these young children can come have an end of the year school party. And this is something that they can slowly turn up to and you can put them on as to what's going on around these neck of the woods. Cause they really don't know. And I think the problem is the, whatever the older generation is not educating our younger generation. And when they are, from what I've experienced from just having a child at 15, that child was also tamed an issue and a felon at age 15 before he even turned 18. So what I do know is these things are very intentional and we 100% must speak to the younger generation. So please, I will release the information about my May 31st in a little bit later in the week, but they will be a part.
Okay. I'm Benita Cruz. I know a few of you. I came from Wichita. I published The Voice. I've been around the state paper, but I'm here to talk about some things something that The Voice and another organization, Kansas Black Leadership Council, which has responses, we jointly have been sponsoring Kansas Black Legislative Day with ACT for a number of years. But we are doing some video. This year we were trying to figure out how can we cover and how can we reach more young people, and two things that we have coming that can be accessible to everybody is one, we are doing with an influencer a series called The Voter Playbook, which is aimed at young people to get out, to speak to them from a video standpoint about getting out to vote and the importance of voting. So that's a series that will be available online that all of you can share. So it'll be free and accessible. The other is, instead of doing a community forum like this or just writing something in the paper, we are reaching out to only two races, only because there's too many candidates for the governor's race and for the U.S. Senate race, to do video moments from each of them on a series of questions. So you can listen to their answers. So everybody will have the same questions. We have developed some questions. And so those will be online again for everybody to access and for everybody to share. So we understood video speaks and it's powerful. So we are adding a video component this year. So as soon as they're available, we'll make sure everybody knows.
You know, thank you for that, and keep an eye out for that video series. It'll be great. I know Sheila's involved producing those videos with the Black entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills. I do want to say something about civic engagement that I think gets lost. I think a lot of times when we think about civic engagement and what it means, we think, oh, Eric's running for the United States Senate against Roger Marshall. Oh, she's running for the Kansas House, the Kansas House. Oh, do I have to be mayor of a city? Do I have to be a county commissioner of a city? No, civic engagement can mean I always push precinct leaders, which is the low level. Those are the ones who are just responsible for knocking the doors of your neighbors to do essentially what I did. Hey, there's an election coming up. Hey, do you know what's on the ballot? Now the precinct captain, it's the grunt work of everything. But guess what happens if someone decides to resign their seat? If someone resigns their seat in the middle of a term, do you know what happens? Does anyone know what happens if someone resigns their seat? What happens? No, it's not. The precinct captains vote. So it's not a general election. The precinct captains are the ones who get to vote to replace people. So there are districts that have, in Johnson County, Brad Boyd resigned his seat in the middle of his term, and 14 people voted on his replacement. 14 people voted on who was going to go into the House. So when I tell you that there's potentially very low barriers of how to get in, all right, and the precinct captains actually hold a lot of power. I really strongly believe this. There's no small amount of civic engagement. You don't have to run for the United States Senate in order to be civically engaged. You can just go to your county commission meetings.
They are here, by the way.
Right.
Sam and Terry is our mayor. Terry, say hello. Wave so people can, yes. So she's our mayor here in Johnson City and our vice mayor, Sam.
There's many ways to get involved civically, just to know what's going on, that don't necessarily need to involve running for office. I think some people get very intimidated with this notion of running for office. Last thing I'm gonna throw out there is boards and commissions. For example,
Yes.
this is a state level commission. These people don't have to run to get into anything. And when we type all this information up, right? And if I have something to present to the governor, I will say, let's go talk to the governor, right? We are a direct conduit to the governor. I just got appointed to the 10th Judicial Circuit Nominating Committee, so I'm going to be picking judges. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that you can get involved in a lot of ways that are very influential. Can you be quiet, please?
Okay, before we go forward, and I know this is great. Thank you all. We're capturing really great information. Also want to call out our Gary County Commissioner with us today, Kathy Tremont. Thank you, Kathy, for being with us. So I went to the meeting, our Junction City Commission meeting, 4 hours, yay. But aside from that, and I listened to it online, so I invite us in Junction City and your communities. If you don't attend, right, I think most of them do Facebook, YouTube, whatever. It's worth listening. I learned a lot. And then before we go to the next question, Ms. Benita is with the Community Voices. Everyone here know that that's the black paper. And we have distribution here. I want to call out my dad, who's now deceased, but he delivered 700 of the Community Voice papers for Ms. Benita and the Community Voice for several years in Junction City. And my son helped him too. So anyway, just kind of a call out, because this is my dad's church, 55 years in this church my dad was, and he worked with the Community Voice. So if you want information, they're online now too, because I get the email. You can sign up and get their Friday newsletter and the actual paper at sites in Junction City. So I just want to say that. No distribution. Online. Okay, sign up online. The Community Voice. Huh? Okay, communityvoiceks.com. Communityvoiceks.com. We're
Number
ready,
six. Okay.
yes.
Thank you. Guys, I love this conversation. All right, we're down to economic opportunity. Number 6, what economic challenges most affect Black families in this district? A, the rising cost of housing, groceries, everyday essentials. B, limited access to jobs with living wages or real advancement opportunities. C, difficulty accessing credit, capital, or financial resources. D, lack of affordable child care or elder care that affect the ability to work, or something else. Life be life.
I know Sheila was gonna raise her hand. Okay, there you go, Gibson. And then Teresa, next.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for putting this all together. It's so important that we make a point to be in fellowship with each other and learn from each other. And so one thing at the Black Legislative Day, we did a talk about Black economic power. And when it comes to this question in particular, I need to go back. I represent Black entrepreneurs in the Flint Hills. We are a nonprofit organization where we create pathways to entrepreneurship, ownership, and innovation in the Flint Hills. And yes, that does include Junction City. We have very many Junction City businesses that are part of the organization and our leadership, as well as grantees, as well as business members. And so we talked about workforce development. I don't see that specifically on here, but I think when we're talking about access to capital, it's not so much anymore access to capital, it's capital readiness. And so our organization has done a lot of work in making access to capital. For example, there is a loan fund specifically for minority entrepreneurs. And if I may say so myself, Ms. Crescenda Baptiste, right here, Junction City-based business, has received those funds, right? So it's not a matter of the access to capital. The access is there. Are you ready to access that capital? Are you ready to own a business and grow to where you have employees? Too many of our businesses do not employ people. It's something like 98% of Black-owned businesses do not have employees. We're solopreneurs. So when it comes to the entrepreneurship and ownership part, we have to consider workforce development because we need to be employing people and learning how to grow our businesses. We need to be taking advantage of the resources that are around us to grow our businesses and learn, because the resources are there. It's just a matter of accessing them. And a lot of times it is a mindset. It's having a growth mindset. And so I just wanted to share that it's not that, and you can't be what you can't see. So being able to bring our youth around for them to participate, not just sit in the room, but be an active participant, like Brittany was saying, how to get them engaged. As parents, we have a role as well to teach our kids, not depend on the schools to teach them this, but bring them with us and let them be active so they can see. And that's just my comments there. And of course, Black Entrepreneurs in the Flint Hills, we do have a directory. It's blackflinthills.com. You can find our Black Business Directory there, and our events are open always to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Teresa.
So it was really kind of in the vein of what I was going to say, is that we do not practice the ujamaa of it all, that cooperative economics. And it is something that we have like a mental block where we can't get over the programming and see the strength within our own numbers. When is the last time you saw us doing an initiative to get together and put together a fund so that we could buy some land? Ownership is important. When is the last time we did a community episode? We're doing this fundraiser for this Union Street Cultural Center, and you would think that we was trying to raise money so that people could kick baby bunnies with steel-toe boots on, the way we have been trying to eat and get people's money to help in something that is for all of us. And for some reason, we just refuse to not see each other as competition and see each other as a community and the strength that we are. We all got $50 we can put together, get a little fun together. Of course, gotta trust somebody with the money to make sure you're not gonna be out in Barbados on some white sand beach. However, you don't know if we were all willing to do a little bit, there is so much that can be done. But we have gotten complacent, and we think it's somebody else gonna do it. And we looking for somebody else to be the person to take the initiative. And then when somebody else do take the initiative, we got a problem with how they decide to take the initiative. We gotta stop looking at all the stuff that can be buried and start figuring out how we can build some bridges to some of these opportunities that we could have if we were not worried about people's titles, not worried about people's XYZ, who live here, who live there. Because if we was all putting in our part, regardless of where we live, we could create our own space outside of what somebody else has determined what we deserve to have. We belong at every table that we want to be at. We belong in every room we want to be in every conversation. And we need to start having them, start being our own and blocking our own lessons. I'm shut up now.
Okay, Terry Butler, this will be the last one, and we'll move to the next one. We have 2 more questions, we're doing good. That third one, I just want us to think about together, question number 10, so we're doing great. Thank you, Mayor Butler.
So I'm really grateful for what I just heard regarding the economic opportunities. There is a very important 2 days coming up, May 27th and May 28th in Junction City. It is a part of a program called Recreational Economy for Rural Communities. Junction City is one of 25 selected communities out of 200 across the nation. And I would like to invite everybody in this room to please come out May 27th to the municipal building, 4:30 to 7:30, Sloppy Joe's at 4:30. And then all day, May 28th from 9 to 4:30. And of course, if you're not able to come for all of it, come for part of it. But this is part of, we have 5 federal partners coming or that are involved in this recreational economy for rural communities: USDA Forestry Service, EPA, Northern Border Regional Commission, Denali Commission, and Appalachian Commission, and a consultant team. And they want to hear from our community, not one person, but they want to hear from everybody. What do we want? And it ties into recreational economy as it ties into our natural assets, the rivers, the trails, hunting, fishing, the lake. And so I do strongly encourage you to come. I do have a flyer here. You're welcome to take a picture. I didn't come prepared, but I thought this would be a great opportunity to say, please come engage.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I wonder, I only have one. Is it possible that you could take a picture of it? Would that be okay? Or you can go to Junction City Main Street Facebook page. Yes, please. Yes, please. Junction City Main Street Facebook page. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Butler. We'll move to the next one.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Number 7, workforce and business support. Have you experienced barriers when seeking job training, workforce programs, or small business support? If yes, what were they? So we got A, programs were hard to find or not well known in the community. B, eligibility requirements or the application process was difficult to navigate. C, the support offered did not match the actual needs of my situation. D, I was not aware of any programs or anything else. So in terms of workforce and business development. Do you have any questions, Dr. Sheila? Okay.
Yeah, Sheila, raise your hand, yes.
I was waiting to see if anybody
Yeah.
had a question, but I just wanted to say, I mentioned Ms. Crescendra. I just can't brag on her enough, but how many employees do you have in your business now? 11. She went from 0 employees to 11 employees right here based in Junction City. How many of you guys have received, if you're a business owner, how many of you guys have received a business grant or a business loan, not just through Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills, but in general? If you just raise your hand, because I want y'all to see that there are people that are right here in this community that are accessing these resources, and the work we're doing to draw more of those resources. The Empower loan that helped Crescendra scale her business, that was not available to Gary County. And Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills was on the Access to Capital committees through the chambers, and they were only going to offer it in Riley County. I said, no, you are not.
Yeah.
Because we have Gary County-based businesses that are a part of this organization, and they need access as well. So people have to be able to be in the right rooms, be able to advocate where the need is, and then, of course, get that awareness out. But she is definitely an example of a Gary County business who has been able to scale within the past couple of years, be able to scale at that level, and that's definitely should be recognized. And she's been able to access every support that she has been able to, including the Department of Kansas, Department of Commerce apprenticeship grant that she recently received as well, representing this region. So she's one that knows how to work those resources.
And before we move to the next question, I do want to say that Sheila, the executive director of Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills, were in those rooms and at those tables fighting for Gary County. In case you didn't hear, Sheila Ellis Glassberg, executive director of Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills, were in those rooms fighting for Gary County businesses, Black-owned businesses, small-owned businesses, where we were ignored. I said it loud, where we were ignored. So I want us to think about that when we talk about Manhattan and Junction City and some prevailing old school, raggedy, out of date attitudes about the relationships that we can or cannot build between people in Junction City and Manhattan, NAACP, I can name a couple of other things. But we're letting that old mindset go because we can do it. And I've said to people, there is a model we can look at. Like, you don't have to believe me. Like, Junction City and Manhattan get along and get along well. And we can, and we're going to continue to. So pray for Junction City in terms of connection and community, because business owners in Manhattan are seen, valued, and heard. So I'll leave it at that, and I'm happy to talk to you after, Mike, when we go get snacks and coffee. But they're valued there, and I really, my prayer is that we are too in Junction City. And I know our mayor is here, and that's why I said, if you have any comments, Mayor Butler, please, yeah. And we can take the hard conversations in here, y'all. We in church, remember.
Well, I do appreciate the Black entrepreneurs in Flint Hills, all that I see going on. Junction City Main Street is also an economic vitality organization. And we have the Junction City Entrepreneur 101 for those who are starting new businesses, open the door for those who would like to be part of the classes there and access to some funding or in-kind opportunities. And then also JC 201, there's a vet ethic course for those who are veterans and so on. So I'm grateful for all that's being done in the region, actually. Thank you.
Mayor Butler, I wanted her to say that. And I really wasn't talking about them, but again, I'll talk to you guys after if you have any questions. I appreciate what Main Street and what Mayor Butler is doing, but not everybody has the same sentiment as Mayor Butler. We'll be ready for the next question, Stacey.
Number 9, what would help build greater trust between community members and state level leadership? So between community members and state level leadership. So not necessarily the mayor or county commissioner. More consistent, transparent communication about decisions that affect the community. B, listening sessions in town halls held in Black communities, not just at the Capitol. C, visible follow through when community concerns are raised. D, greater representation of Black Kansas in appointed and elected roles, or something else. So what would help foster trust between the community and state level?
And this is an important question when you think about working with the state. For example, my position now as commissioner working with the state, it takes some of your own homework, and effort as well. And in the short amount of time I've been on the commission, I've learned quite a bit at the hands of Stacey, at the hands of Angela, and at my own hands of getting on the laptop, researching, reading, figuring things out. And then in this kind of open communication with our commissioners in the county and in Junction City. So I will say that takes effort. Like, it's not going to fall in your lap, but it takes effort. And if you care about your community, like I do in Junction City, then it's something that's a passion of yours. And not everyone has that. But when we talk about voting, when we talk about representation, when we talk about visibility, if it's not you, then who? Any comments? Anybody have a thought about this? Yes.
What I have to say in reference to this is, ones that are up and doing that are elected officials. Your first thing saying is, my constituents want me to do this, or wanted me to do this, or wanted me to say that. But you haven't came and talked to your constituents. I have a problem with that, because when certain things are said, that means you came in to somebody's church, you came into somebody's community, and you actually sat down and you talked to these people and asked, what is your concerns? And then when they give you their concerns, what are you going to do with those concerns? Are you going to take them back and say, well, here you go, and we're going to go do something else, and not even look at that for those people? You know, people believe you when you say, I'm going to do something for you. But the only time they see you is when you want to vote. So you can't do that. If you're going to be in that leadership position and you want trust, you have to go actually face to face and talk with individuals. God did it best. He talked to you on the level where you're at. He put out his message where he wanted at, on the level. He met you where you're at. So when you come meet me on the level where I'm at and ask me my concern, be concerned and do something about it. Thank you.
I'm going to carry on what Curtis was just talking about. We gotta meet the level. Level is a very important word. I'm just going to ask a question. When it comes to the town meetings, how many people show up? 4 to 5 citizens. Okay, so again, as I was speaking about levels, we gotta meet them at the level. Let's say, for instance, the idea, how do you get people to come out? Let's say, for instance, how do we get Hispanics to come out? We already know how to get us out. We have to get on that level. And the leadership here, we can't just be like, no good parents, no good daddies. Hey, I'm gonna give you $200. I know I haven't seen you in 18 years, but I'm gonna give you $200. And as a child, you still waiting on you. You can't be on that mentality. You have to go out there, sit with them. Hey, I haven't seen you yesterday. You doing good? You got to know your community. The more that you know your community, the more it will spread. If we're not doing that, we're not being on that level, how can we relate? Thank you.
So I have one thing to toss in there. Do you know right now who your state rep is? Do you know right now who your state senator is? So I see some people nodding, yes, that's fantastic. I happen to be friends with my state rep. I will text him. I don't wait on him to come to me. I'm gonna say something very unpopular. You need to be up these people's butts. Because let's face it, okay, listen, your average person running for office is not going to come to the Black community until six weeks ahead of the election. They're gonna come to a church and they're gonna show it. That is what they're going to do. Okay, that is the pattern. So we can't expect them to do something different, okay? What I would ask is you get up their butt. The staff at Jerry Moran's office in Johnson County, when I would run into them in the Hy-Vee, my children, who were like 7 at the time, would be like, Kimberly. That's how often I was in Jerry Moran's office complaining about stuff, to the point that my children knew the staff in Jerry Moran's office. Let's face it, Jerry Moran isn't gonna ask me jack crap. I would stay up their butt. I'd call and they'd be like, hey, Stacy. I'm like, yeah, he's joking on this thing. Would you please tell him not to? Guys, we have a little bit of responsibility. So when someone gets elected, here's the thing that I say often. People like to protest more than they like to vote. If you don't like it, vote for a different person. Which swings back to elections have consequences. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Any other comments here? We're approaching our last question.
No, I think I'll share the floor with her. When she's talking about getting up their butt, is me, I travel the state and I do veterans claims for the Kansas Commission of Veterans Affairs Office. And I try to paint a picture for these veterans on how to get the VA to give them money. You can do the same thing with voting. You got to be able to spot a fallacy. You got to be able to spot when somebody's hedging you on. You got to be able to spot a deflection tactic. I talk to veterans. Obama didn't do nothing for me. What has he done for the black community? Are you stupid? Do you read? Do you know that it's not black on black crime that's the highest that's hurt? It's your heart disease. It's your strokes. You got to know what you're talking about when you come to talk to me. That's just me. And you got to tell yourself that when you get ready to run this thing, they're going to throw everything at you. You know you're going to be doing good because they're going to throw everything at you to get you out of the race. So know what you're talking about. I go around a different way. She explained it real good. If you don't know what you're talking about, and if you don't vote, the same thing that's happening in my state of Louisiana, 68% of the people voted one person in, and now the people that control the state are getting rid of that position. It's not fair. You got to show up. Why, in my opinion, things aren't happening in Kansas for the veterans? Because there's 5 or 6 at the meeting when the veterans meetings come up. You know how many? There's 10,000 on Fort Riley that me and Mr. Coleman take care of. There's another 1,000 here. So myself, it's like 20,000 that I see. He sees like the other 30,000 on post. If we all showed up in that little bitty room that the fire marshal says only 60 people can be in, we can change everything in the state. Everything. You have enough people in this room right now to show up at Juneteenth and make their voice heard. The same thing you're talking about right now, I don't like no problems. I always try to find a solution. And you are the voters, you are the solution. She just said it. It's the numbers that matter. The numbers that matter. I'll get off myself.
Because to the point, because they say, well, my constituents say X, Y, Z. It's because they go to these meetings and they have 5 people, and those 5 people tell them that, and then they can legitimately say, I heard from my constituents and I'm doing X, Y, Z. If a different set of people showed up who were their constituents, then they would have to listen. Right.
I'm not a good speaker, I'm a writer, but I've been doing this state for 30 years, and I'll never see times such as this. And I don't think anybody else who's living here. I can say and I'm not a young woman, and I lived through I started the 50s. And so I've lived through a lot, but these are some really serious times. And they take some really serious actions. And those actions have to go beyond voting too. Okay, we got to get in the streets, we got to do a whole bunch of stuff. And I think one of the biggest mistakes, and I have an editorial about it in the paper when there was Obama, is that we wait till election time to try to get these people engaged. We got to be working this all year long. If you want to get those kids, is what you were saying, we just can't say go vote because they don't understand why to go vote. And I know I'm saying we're doing something around voting, but we've got to get them all year long. We get people who are engaged, what they have found, before the elections are engaged in the elections. So if there's anything as a community that you guys can do to get people engaged, I come up every year for Juneteenth. I know that's good, but what more things can be done to gather this community together? And that's just my recommendation here. That's my recommendation all over the state, but all over the country. We've got to start pulling together people. Y'all see what's happening. We have gone back before the 50s now. And in order we're going to get some change, it will take some elections, but we've got to get people motivated, and motivation doesn't stop 6 weeks before an election.
Yeah, I didn't actually really have much to say. I was just kind of, he said something about Juneteenth, 14th. Is that how you say it? When is that? Oh, you said it in June. Okay. Is it still? Oh, it's here. I thought it was actually somewhere else in Junction City. Uh, okay. Well, I just had a question about that. That's all. I didn't have nothing else to say.
Okay,
Who's
so
this going to?
we'll go to question number 10. So priorities for 2027. And this is kind of the crux of everything. What is one issue you want CAC to prioritize in 2027, and what action would you like to see taken? Here's the background. Black Legislative Day has gotten continuously bigger. Lots of people show up, but we need to be able to mobilize and have something actually come out of it. The plan, the sketch out, loose plan is instead of having one big Black Legislative Day, if we have like 4 smaller Black Legislative Days where we limit it to a small group of people, then we can take a topic, right? And then like that maybe one day we'll talk, and this is the question, I don't know, what do you want to talk about? And focus on that. Then we can track legislation that deals with that. We can know which legislators to talk about to deal with that. We can know which committee hearing to go to talk about that. Because right now, the cold hard truth is you cannot move 250 people through the Capitol. You can't. But I can move this many people through the Capitol. So it doesn't have to be one topic because there's several weeks. But what is a topic that you would like CAC to prioritize in 2027? Knowing that on paper, we function as a liaison between the community and the governor's office. We are not an extension of the legislature. We are not elected. We do not make law. Okay, go.
I just had one more comment on kind of the last question, which was building greater trust between community members and state level leadership. I think one thing that really stuck out to me that I've really seen kind of play a role the past couple of months, particularly in Wyandotte County with the Chiefs deal coming in. But I think to your question, Stacey, a lot of our community members don't even know who their state level House representatives are, right? And so the people we really trust are our local level leadership, our council members, our mayors, our commissioners. And so I think it's really hard for state level leadership to ask for community trust when you see how they treat our local leadership without respect. They usurp our local leadership's powers when those are the people we trust the most to make those decisions, right? Like we just elected our first Black woman mayor in Kansas City, and to see her be stripped of her power by the state level leadership is just so disheartening because they'll tell her things like, we'll give you a seat on this board. We'll give you, this one seat so long as you cooperate. Like that is not respect or participation. That is just kind of trying to pacify. So I think to really start building back that trust, we have to see that respect is given to our local leaders because that's who we put in because we see them every day. They're in our community. We see them on the street. And so I think if state leaders want to know why kind of that trust is not there, it's because we see how you treat those in our communities that we feel like really represent us. But I guess for a priority for 2027, I would probably say some sort of younger civic engagement initiatives, kind of happy to talk that through. I think something that's been really on my mind is the fact that as I'm going to all of the Kansas City, Kansas public schools to do high school voter registration, I'm hearing from other communities who also want to do the same thing, that to your point, they're kind of scared about doing voter registration because they, just punish protesting for students. But I think if we allow the military to come in to our schools and enlist our students, then why do we not have mandatory voter registration days at every single public school, particularly Black and brown public schools? But yeah, something around that maybe.
So hello, my name is Ramona Smith, and I am a new candidate. I've never run for office before. I have participated in hundreds of voter registration events, but it took someone to get behind me when I just volunteered. I saw a candidate that I wanted to support, and I just wanted to lend my 2 hands and say, whatever I can do to stomp the trail with you, I want to do that. That candidate turned it around and said, now you're going to be a candidate. You're not just going to work on my campaign. And so I'm grateful for that support. Really forever, and it's changed my life. The one thing that I would share with this group is that it's not hard to run. It's literally going to put your name on a piece of paper for the office that you want to run and paying the fee. And what we have been conditioned to believe is that it's beyond us, and that you have to be a career politician, or you have to be in political science, or have these degrees and be a lawyer and understand all the things that happen in the House. That's not true. We all have innate talents and abilities. We all have great common sense and a way to think critically. which is what we really need right now. What I would encourage everyone to do is find a candidate that connects with you. Find a candidate that speaks to your morals, your values, your heart, and what you want a future for your environment and your community to look like, and get behind them. If it's knocking doors, if it is donating $5 a week, because running a campaign is not cheap. It's not easy and it's not cheap, especially right now. Like we saw so many candidates on the ballots right now. So get behind your candidates. Say that you'll, go knock the doors, you'll go pass out their flyers, you'll go to events with them and say their names out loud. And you'll go to the community events, your commissioner meetings, and help them get behind the candidate that speaks to your heart and speaks to where you want your community to go. So again, my name is Ramona Smith. I am running for Kansas House of Representatives for District 33, which is where the stadium is going to be. I actually live there. Okay, so my front yard is going to be impacted. And so I have real skin in the game. I am a healthcare IT professional of 16 years. I've not spent my time sitting behind a desk casting votes. I've spent my time changing people's lives through healthcare. So I would encourage you guys to reach out to my campaign as well. If you want to support me, I welcome that. And tell your friends and your neighbors to get involved and bring them to these events, bring them to the commissioner events. And ask folks, are you registered to vote? I ask everybody from the doctor's office to the gas station, are you registered to vote? So thank you. Thank you very much.
So priorities, any priorities that CAC should focus on?
Mr. Brunkard. I'm still Tom Brunkard. Still on the Board of Education. Still a retired government teacher. Not a sexy issue, but critical for anybody who wants to go to Topeka, Hawaii. Kansas legislature is one of the least transparent legislatures in the country. They do a little thing, if you don't go, it's called gut and go. They'll take a bill, pass one house, strip the contents of it, put another bill into it, pass it to one house, it doesn't have to go, then it's just an up and down vote in the other house. It's very complicated, but I've seen it happen. I've been down there, and it is amazing. I looked up one bill, it was the House substitute for Senate substitute for House bills. I mean, it changed it 3 times. Trying to track this stuff is impossible unless you're there all the time. Non-sexy item, but I think every group I talk to, I want them to go down there and stress we need a more transparent legislature.
All right, government transparency. Yeah, that gut and go is a thing.
How y'all doing? My name is Brian Coleman. I'm a veteran service officer. I work on Fort Riley. Future, hopefully, city commissioner soon. My problem is that there are over 65% of retired military in this state. And they always shooting down those property tax incentives for veterans. That is one thing that really gets to me. These veterans serve their country. I serve my country. Most of these veterans are 100% disabled. Some can't work. Some can't afford their housing. Property taxes in this state is not user-friendly to veterans. We should be honored. They should be honored. They should get that percentage of those state taxes exempt. We put more in this economy in this state than most people. And this state taxes are outrageous. So that's all I got to say. My name is Brian Coleman. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for the time.
So priorities for Camp CAC.
Yes, I have a priority. From just listening in the room, and I really appreciate CAC for creating this space. And I can't say that enough, but adaptive leadership training and development. Dr. Crystal, that's your thing is leadership development, right? And a lot of what we're talking about, whether it's on the job training, professional development, entrepreneurship, economic opportunity, education, voting, all the things that we've been talking about, right? Having a pipeline of Black people who can run for office and are prepared to run for office is a need, because yes, we want people to run, but if we've got folks that are running and they don't have the support, they don't have the training to be able to withstand that position, they don't have the strategy to be able to make that change that's needed in the community, then what are we doing, right? And so the Kansas Leadership Center has these transformation grants. And I know that CAC, you guys have been advertising that you have some slots. Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills, we have some slots to help build up that pipeline. And so the priority that I'm asking is that we can prioritize opportunities to develop Black leaders in the state of Kansas.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Sheila. That is fantastic. Okay, Sam, our Vice Mayor in Junction City. Sam.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. On that same note, I would like to create some awareness for some local elections that are coming up in the next 2 years. As Mr. Coleman mentioned, in 2 years, every 2 years, 3 of our 5 city commission seats are open. So in 2 years, you will have that opportunity. I look forward to seeing some of your names and faces on that ballot. And much like you said, just go to the election office. I paid $70 to file my city fee and campaigned and ran. In that same way, this year we do have a county commission opening as well for Trish Giordano's district. I believe she serves the Milford area and a small portion of Junction City. So that is also open this year if you live within her district. And I do encourage you to learn. I will mention in my experience campaigning last year, our election office for Geary County was a great asset. I also have 0 political experience. I work in project management. And so I brought many, many silly questions to them. They never made me feel stupid. They brought me many resources. They were very affirming and encouraging. And so again, much like you said, we have these local openings coming up. Don't feel like you have to be somebody to be somebody. I was not somebody. Now I'm the vice mayor. You can absolutely do it.
Thank you very much. Okay, Eric's gonna be, any more, we'll do Eric.
So
Go ahead, and I wanna notice, and I say hello to Chief, Kurt Nichols is in the building with us. Thank you, Chief, for stopping by. We'll make Eric our last one, unless someone has some burning comments, and then we'll move on, because we want you to get a chance to talk to the vendors before you leave. Okay, thank you, Eric.
no worries. So
Take us home.
Stacey, I want to answer your question. What can we do? What can CAC prioritize at Black Legislative Day in 2027? So
Yes.
I attended Black Legislative Day. I think the first thing is we've all got to show up, right? The irony of what happened the day that we were at Black Legislative Day
Yes.
was the fact that the legislature had the audacity during our day to pass the Charlie Kirk bill. And so they were all
Yes.
debating that.
Yeah.
And so had I known and had we all just taken a moment during that day
Yes.
to say, we have 300 Black people here and they're all meeting right over there. Why don't we get together and go stand in the hall, in the chamber while they're doing that? And I think it would have been a powerful moment. So that would actually be one thing as we look at kind of the list of community concerns. And the irony of all this is a circle or a cycle. And the last thing was trust and representation, visible follow through when community concerns are raised. If we had our Black agenda that's being developed at these town halls, and we got to actually watch that, we have a number of Black legislators. Rep. Casey Ohibison hosted an event. We were there, so we could have one of our Black legislators take our agenda onto the legislative floor and say, dear legislators, while you're doing your gut and go and all of the debauchery that you do, I want you to acknowledge that there are 500 African American constituents of yours in this room, and this is the agenda that we want to talk about. If nothing else, we would all at least be like, wow, we're now in the room where it happens. We're seeing our voices heard. I know that's easier said than done, Stacey. So she's like, Eric, you're over here making more work for me. But I think that would have been powerful for us, especially in a moment like that, where our interests are clearly not being heard. And then I think that actually flows back to all of this. Once we see that visible follow through, I was at Sheila's Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills Gala, right? your point on Ujima, we've got to support each other. And so we've got to show up for that. Once we see that happening, we'll know how we get workforce business support and funding, right? Then we'll know that the legislators are hearing about our concerns about the Chiefs deal or whatever deal they're doing, because we'll see it. And then that will drive the last one. Once we have that platform, we're in the room, we see that our issues are being heard and addressed, that's where we'll be like, oh, damn, we should civically participate, because this is how it's come full circle and work. So I appreciate you hosting that event. I know you well enough to know you don't get stressed easily, and you were working so hard to get that event and pull that off. That was amazing. So to everybody in this room, y'all need to come and show up. And once we're in the room, especially if they're doing some Charlie Kirk-esque nonsense, we need to go over to the legislative chamber with our agenda in hand and make sure that our voices are heard. So I don't know how we do that, but that would be my idea. Thank you, Stacey.
The how we do that is to break it up. Because the reality of us, of me trying to move 250 people, it was just daunting. So that's the idea to break it up. Because if Black Legislative Day was 4 Black Legislative Days, and we advertised that today we're going to talk about veterans issues, this state is going to be veterans issues. That would mean I could find out what veteran issues bills are going to happen. What day is the veteran committee meeting? And I can take this many people and go all up and down and follow people around. I would know which committee, which representative, which senator I need to sit down and make a contact with. And we wouldn't all fit in the room, but it's then and then just say, have my umbrella, we're going this way, and go. That's the idea here, is if I can figure out what are the issues. Veterans issues is something large enough that I can go, okay, I can build an entire day around veterans issues. And so it'll be advertised that on arbitrarily February 1st, we're going to talk about veterans issues. So if your thing is education, we'll get to it. But on February 1st, we're going to talk about veterans issues. We're going to go to this veterans committee in the House. We're going to go to this veterans committee in the Senate. We're going to watch them on the floor. We're going to make the chair of the House Veterans Committee. We're going to go talk to that person. And so we can just pinpoint it. That's why I'm like, what's the priority? We can pinpoint it down, and that whole day will just be veterans issues. So if the veterans issues is the thing, then February 1st is your day. February 7th will be education, because there is a House Education Committee. We will go to the House Education. We will go to the Senate Education Committee. We will talk to the chair of the Senate. It'll be drilled down, because right now, we can't. I don't like saying we can't, because people say I'm just throwing cold water. The thing is, it's difficult. It's easier and it's very pinpointed if we know we're going to talk about veterans issues, and I'm going to take all you guys to talk to the chair of the Veterans Committee, and then you can say, this is the bill that deals with the property tax exemption that you are passing over, and you will know exactly what you're talking about, and then that will be effective. The Charlie Kirk thing, it's more effective if I can get you to the person. And if I know we're there to talk about veterans issues, then I know very clearly who I want to talk to. Then the third week can be, we might do a third week on adaptive leadership training, where the whole thing is just, we're going to explain what gut and go means. And then we're going to explain how to write testimony. And we're going to explain how to do this. And we'll still go to the House, we'll still go to the Senate, and we'll go talk to, I don't know, somebody about something. But this notion of, I've done 4 years of 200 people. And that's great, and it's impressive, and it's fun, and it's stressful. Woo. But I'm like, now I'm saying, okay, we need to drill down. So what is it that you want to talk about? I now know that I can do the broad very well, but we need to shift it so we can go now what do we, if we have an agenda, what veterans issues? Is it property tax? Is it housing? But it'll be veterans issues, veterans issues. That's a day, that's a whole day. But that's a different day than education issues, which is a different day than what does a gut and go mean? And how do I demystify the legislative process? Which are all things that I think, every topic is. Veterans issues is going to probably be a day. We've never talked about veterans issues. But there's a House Veterans Committee and there's a Senate Veterans Committee, and they deal with very unsafe things. No more topics? Topics are good, man. Veterans topics, how to navigate adaptive leadership, young people civic engagement. These are the things I wrote down about economic. Yeah, exactly. Building the pipeline. This is good. This is what we're gonna do next year. This is very helpful. I love it. I mean, I don't look like I love it. I love it, guys. So I can look very stern. I love everything that you're saying. Okay.
Let's give ourselves a hand. Thank you so much. Very, very, good insight. And thank you. We'll be collecting all of that data and making that look, very pretty, and then get to work on some of those issues. All hearts and minds clear. I want to do my acknowledgements. Please visit our vendor table, informational resources. Got some great information for us. I'm getting coffee, so I know there's more coffee. The cupcakes. Let's give a hand and a welcome to our caterer, Aunt Lisa, for her fabulous cupcakes. I went on break and put 3 in the kitchen, Aunt Lisa, because I already knew, and I hope my 3 are still in that kitchen. So thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for speaking up. And thank you for helping us build what comes next. So before we go, I want to thank Dr. Pastor Larry Jones and the Second Missionary Baptist Church for hosting us in this historic and sacred space. Thank you to the tech team. Thank you to Chris Monroe, Deacon Curtis Wooten, Bobby Witten, Brenda Turner, Sister Gabby, and the entire church team for their support. Aunt Mika, the informational vendors, Miss Cassandra Tillman. My son is not here, Elijah Evans. Shameless plug, graduates in 3 weeks from Bethany College with a 3.9, 4.0, and has this job and will start June 1st. Yay! He was here all day yesterday helping me. My fellow CAT commissioners, Chair Angela Johnson, our executive director, Stacy Alvaro. Oh my gosh, thank you. And friend, thank you. Andrea Young, I see you back there taking beautiful notes. Thank you. And then I want to acknowledge Key Office Printing, who helped me with some of the donations with our printing. Is Dr. Weeks here? I saw Dr. Weeks. I want us, you all, to show love to my sister, my colleague, and the new Dr. Ophelia Weeks on creating and just crossing the finish line with her oral defense. So I love to see women welcome into the doctorate club. Congratulations, Dr. Weeks. Thank you all for coming. Hit the vendor tables before you leave and have a fabulous weekend. Thank you.
I thought vendor was